Hey there, folks. Welcome to the channel. I hope you're having a great day. My name is Eric, and we are in the middle of a sausage fest. Today on Celebrate Sausage, we're talking Spanish chorizo. Spanish chorizo has got to be in my top 5 all-time favorite salami. I mean, it is just so tasty. But not everybody likes that strong paprika flavor. No worries, because our special guest today, Matt from the YouTube channel Matt the Butcher, is going to take us on a Spanish chorizo journey, where he shows us how to tone down that Spanish paprika flavor and still end up with something absolutely incredible. Welcome to Celebrate Sausage, Matt.
My name is Matt the Butcher, and I am going to be making Spanish-style chorizo. Oh yeah, these are one of my absolutely favorite style of salami to be making. We ferment it, and then we're going to be drying it for around 30 days. I've been making this recipe for probably 10 years now. I was inspired to make this because a more traditional style chorizo is just a little bit too intense as far as the smoked paprika that goes in there, sometimes the spiciness to it, sometimes how dry it is. So I created this recipe to bring those levels to what I personally like. So let's go take a look. So first off, I have a sweet paprika that is going to add a vibrant red color that makes a Spanish-style chorizo really stand out. This lends a sweet pepper flavor that to me is mild and fruity. Next, I have a smoked paprika, and I typically add about 1/3 of what I add of sweet paprika by weight. Lastly, for the peppers, I add a not-so-traditional ingredient found in dried chorizos, and that is cayenne pepper. I put just a bit, 0.2%, just to give that kiss of heat. I prefer cayenne pepper because of the fruity spiciness it gives, and while I don't typically eat spicy food, I really enjoy the flavor it gives in this recipe. Next, I use garlic powder. Traditionally, fresh minced garlic is used, but the powder form, in my experience, is way more consistent in quality and still very flavorful. I also add brown sugar to give a nice and sweet caramel flavor on the back end. And for the core ingredients to make any dried salami, I'll be adding salt and pink salt, number 2, that contains sodium nitrite and sodium nitrate, which is used for curing projects that take up to 30 days or longer. Of course, this will also prevent the growth of botulism spores and create a nice pink color and cured meat flavor. For the bacteria culture, I use BLC-007 with distilled water to help bloom the culture at least 30 minutes before mixing. This culture is really convenient because it ferments between 65 and 75 degrees, which is basically room temperature, so you don't need anything extra to ferment. Plus, it gives protection against listeria and other harmful pathogens. The food source for this culture will be dextrose, which is a simple form of sugar for bacteria to consume and produce lactic acid. I'll be sending pork shoulder chunks through a 1/4-inch plate. I typically will refrigerate all the metal parts to keep everything nice and cool during the process as well. For at-home sausage projects, I have this awesome 5-pound hand-crank stuffer with a medium tube. For the casing, I'll be using a 32mm edible collagen casing, as well as natural 32mm hog intestine casing. This way we will get to see any differences through the process. Okay, for mixing, I'll be using my KitchenAid, which does a great job of keeping things cool and mixed very well. I always start mixing with the ground pork, bacteria culture, and dextrose first. This way, it will ensure that the culture gets first dibs on the surface area of the meat for fermentation. Next, I'll add the kosher salt and cure salt. Afterwards, I add the pepper powders and the rest of the ingredients to be mixed. Note, if the meat batter starts to get a little stiff during mixing with all the powders, I'll just add a little bit more distilled water until it loosens up just a bit. Once all the ingredients are mixed in and a bind is formed, it should look like this. Nice orange-red color, soft in texture, but a nicely formed bind as well. This 2-kilo batch will fit perfectly in my 5-pound stuffing container, and if punched down and packed tight, I shouldn't get any air bubbles in any of the links during stuffing. Okay, I'll start first with the collagen casing by placing it on the tube and tying it off with a bubble knot, as well as tying off a small loop at each end, which will allow the salami to hang properly. So this piece of twine I have here is measured for the perfect length in my chamber where it can hang freely but not touch anything at the bottom. I'll use it as a guide to measure each link. It's important to stuff the casing tight and consistent so there won't be any sagging towards the bottom of the link that could lead to uneven drying while hanging. Side note, I'm doing a small batch of salami which doesn't require to refill the stuffing container. If packed tightly enough, I won't need to poke holes to release air bubbles, otherwise I would use a 3-pronged sausage pricker. Anyway, now I just need to repeat the same technique until everything is stuffed. Let's take a quick look at the natural casing. They do tend to curl up during the linking process. I just aim for the same length as the collagen links, and they tend to straighten out during the drying step. Okay, last step before fermentation is taking out any extra meat from the bottom of the stuffer and tube, and rolling it up in plastic wrap as the same girth as the link itself. This is what we will test the pH drop, as opposed to cutting a hole in a link itself. For fermentation, I'll be using this food-grade brine bag, which will keep humidity high and the pest out. So then I'll just keep the bag on the table here overnight. For my own database, I always have a few of these Accurite temp and humidity readers around the house and in my cure chamber. This helps understand the environment that the meat is hanging in. The kitchen is sitting between 66 and 70 degrees. This is perfect for fermentation. Okay, so at the beginning of fermentation, I write out when it went in and when it should come out of fermentation. I will also keep the pH tester link right with the other links, so it goes through the same temp fluctuations during fermentation if there are any. Okay, so it's been about 30 hours and I'm going to test my tester link with a calibrated Milwaukee Instrument pH meter. Just looking at the salami, you can see it's vibrant red now. It's firmed up and giving off a slight tang smell. These are absolutely all good signs that things are going well. Okay, now I'll cut a hole big enough to fit the probes in the tester link. So you see here the salami is at 4.8 pH. This is much lower than need be, but for this recipe I like a bit more tang to complement the smoke and spice. Other recipes that are more subtle in flavor, I'll stop fermentation at about 5.2 or around there. Okay, now it's time to hang the chorizo in my wine fridge using the top wine rack and 1-inch S-hooks. So for the initial 5 to 6 days, I want to keep the humidity high around 85 to 90% while the temperature is at average 50 degrees. I'll keep a Tupperware container filled with water and salt at the bottom to keep the humidity high, as well as a fan that will blow on the water to help disperse the airflow evenly and keep the air from becoming stale. We are at day 10 now. We have the Spanish chorizo. As you can see, a little bit of natural mold is growing. That is perfect. So the first 10 days I've kept it at around 54 to 57 degrees, and the humidity is around well, it says 65 to 85% here, but it stays at the higher end, just because during the defrost cycle it'll dip down to about 67, but for the most part it's going to stay to the high 70s, mid 80s. So at this point I'm seeing everything I like to see in the chorizo here. It's nice and firm, a little bit of mold is growing. So this is the collagen casing here. Feels nice and firm, it's drying very nicely. Okay, we are at day 25, and I just weighed all these guys, and we are at about a 33% loss of the original weight. So I personally like my salami to be just a little bit more firm, so I'm gonna let them go for about another week, but you can tell that they are really actually firming up quite nicely. There's not a lot of give at this point. This is the natural casing. As you can see, it's got a little bit of natural mold growing here. And at this point, I'm actually gonna wipe them down with like a little distilled water and vinegar solution. Okay, so here we are. I'm just gonna wipe down these two links here. These are with the natural casing, and these ones just got a little bit more mold than the collagen casing here. So I'm just going to wipe it down with a 50% solution of distilled white vinegar, and then the other half is just distilled water. I'm just gonna dip it in and kind of wipe this down and then give it a couple days to dry. It really won't affect the flavor, but I will be sending these off to friends and family, and in the packaging, sometimes the mold will actually become really slimy and have a off-putting flavor. So if I can get rid of this now, right when they're about to dry or be done, it'll give it a chance to dry the surface, and you'll be good to go. You'll just get that nice chorizo flavor. Then after it's damp with the vinegar solution, I just take another dry towel here and just kind of wipe it down. And as you can see, all the mold is pretty much come off at this point. And then once again, these are almost done, so I'm just going to hang these back up in the cure chamber and let them go for another probably 4 or 5 days. Okay, here we are at day 30. These chorizos are looking absolutely beautiful. Nice and firm. They smell fantastic. The last 10 days, the humidity has stayed at about mid 70s, and the temperature between 45 and 50. That is perfect. I haven't really needed to use the fan in the last 10 days, as the chorizos have been drying very slowly, not really a lot of purge left. I cannot wait to crack these bad boys open, so let's go check. Okay, so we're at 30 days now. I'm looking at this chorizo salami here, and everything is looking absolutely correct. It smells amazing. All right, so we have one that's a collagen casing. We'll cut this one open first. Oh yeah, that's looking absolutely gorgeous. Really even drying there, nice particle definition, nice red tint of that classic chorizo look. All right, let's try open up the collagen or the natural casing here. Just as beautiful. I'd say there's not much of a difference in the cutting. Overall, they look great. They both look great. I can smell them from here, and they smell amazing. Let's try them. Okay, so this is the natural casing here. Smells incredible, really. It smells, you have a little bit of a smokiness to it. Definitely smell the tang from the fermentation. A little bit of fruitiness from the pepper. So as I'm chewing, more and more flavors is coming out. Really, really delicious. Now the spice is kicking in. I'm happy with both of these. Absolutely happy with both of these.
Wow, I just gotta say one thing. When it comes to making salami, you're either gonna nail it or you're not, and Matt nailed it. That Spanish chorizo looked absolutely delicious, perfect texture. I can't wait to try the recipe. And what I really want to talk about is that dry curing chamber. I mean, check that out. Very simple design. Small fridge, little bin of water, computer fan blowing right on top of it, and it produced some absolutely amazing salami. I'm going to put a link to Matt's YouTube channel in the description box below. His channel is called Matt the Butcher. He's got all kinds of really great videos on butchery, sausage, and salami making. And I'm also going to link the build to his dry curing chamber in the event that you're interested in a DIY unit. Very simple, very affordable, and very effective way to dry salami. If you have any questions about this Spanish chorizo, leave them in the comment section below. You can find the full recipe link in the description box. And if you got anything out of this video, a thumbs up is always helpful. If you're new to our channel and you like this kind of content, take a moment and click that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. Stick around because tomorrow, same time, same place, we're going to be making a legendary Lithuanian sausage that's off the charts. See you then. Bye-bye.